In the annals of history, rarely do historians include frightening paranormal war secrets. It's basically fringe history. And I'm not going to lie to you, this stuff can be pretty out there. Why else would you be here though, right? We all know history is full of ghost stories and legends, and that doesn't exclude military and war history. It's rife with bizarre and supernatural events. As you'll soon discover, during battles, many soldiers have claimed to witness ghosts in the trenches and UFOs in the sky. While that in itself is scary, the fact it can't be explained makes it even more so. On top of that, modern governments have initiated secret paranormal missions and projects under the noses of the average citizen. Whether it be Nazi or CIA science experiments, many countries have gone to strange and, frankly, horrific lengths to acquire power over their enemies. Just be warned, some of this stuff isn't for the faint of heart. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are frightening paranormal war secrets we can't explain. #25. Flight 19 Disappearance. On December 5th, 1945, 14 airmen of the Flight 19 group went missing after their departure from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Even more suspicious, all of them disappeared while flying over the Bermuda Triangle, and investigators haven't been able to explain the disappearance. Naturally, many have speculated paranormal activity was at play. But not the movie. They probably weren't playing that on the flight.
Do you like the movie?
No.
Why not?
That's scary. 24. The Deadly Double. On October 22nd, 1941, 2 weeks before the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor, The New Yorker published several strange ads titled Achtung, Warning, Alerte. The ads showed several people hiding in a bomb shelter. It talked about staying in a bomb shelter, being prepared, and playing a game called The Deadly Double, a dice game. On the picture, it showed 2 dice with the numbers 12 and 7, numbers that don't appear on the standard issue dice. Turns out that game doesn't exist. As we all know, 12/7/1941 is the date of the Pearl Harbor attacks. Was someone or something trying to warn the United States? 23. B17 Ghost Plane. On November 23, 1944, a B-17 bomber came in for a landing at a British Air Force base in Kortenberg, Belgium. This bomber wasn't scheduled to land, so it surprised the grounds crew. When it landed, the propellers kept spinning, and for 20 minutes, there was no sign of human activity. When the crew arrived to inspect the plane, no one was on board. All the parachutes remained, and nothing out of the ordinary was found. 22. The Battle of Los Angeles. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, fears and tensions rose across the US about subsequent attacks by the Japanese. Many soldiers were put on high alert. On February 25, 1942, radar picked up enemy fighters near Los Angeles, and anti-aircraft guns started heavily firing in the 3 a.m. night sky. When all was said and done, they fired 1,400 rounds. But when the dust cleared, there was no sign of any invaders. No Japanese planes, nothing. The Japanese denied ever flying or invading, leading many to wonder what force caused the radar to go off, and why were there so many sightings of planes. 21. Heinrich Himmler's Holy Grail. The Nazis and Heinrich Himmler were obsessed with the occult, the paranormal, and the mystical. So naturally, Himmler led a mission to an abbey in Spain to obtain what was believed to be the cup that Christ drank from at the Last Supper. He thought that if he obtained the Grail, he would be bestowed with supernatural powers and defeat his enemies. Himmler, of course, left empty-handed. 20. Lance of Destiny. Similarly, it's been claimed that Hitler himself wanted another ancient relic, the Lance of Destiny, or the spear that pierced Christ's side during his crucifixion. He believed the spear would give him power to overcome his enemies and rule the world. Hitler did get his hand on the object, but it clearly didn't help him conquer the world. 19. The Diplomat Hotel. Once called the Dominican Hill Retreat House, where nuns and priests resided during World War II, it was turned into a prison camp by Japanese soldiers at the time. The soldiers forced the nuns and priests to do slave labor, and even went as far as raping, torturing, and beheading them. There were also claims of a child massacre. Afterward, many strange sightings of ghosts and hauntings came out, including hearing the sounds of children and babies crying. Eventually, the hotel was shut down, and it's now a derelict building. 18. World War II plane poltergeist. Recently, while on a World War II-era plane, Tony Ferguson claimed a ghost threw his camera across the cabin of the plane and appeared in front of him, white as a feather. So intrigued, he returned to the cabin and tried to record the paranormal activity on video. 17. L8 Blimp. This blimp took off in 1942 near the Golden Gate Bridge to monitor for Japanese fighters, but never returned. Instead, it crashed into a house nearby. When they investigated the crash, the pilots were nowhere to be found and were never seen again. No one knows what happened to them. 16. The Headless Gringa. A story on Baltra Island claims that during World War II, an American serviceman and his girlfriend lived on the island together. When he discovered she was unfaithful, he pushed her off a cliff, where her head was caught between two rocks, and she was decapitated. Since then, the Air Force Base on the island has been haunted with her spirit, targeting solitary men and killing them. 15. Nazi zombie soldiers. It might sound weird, but the Nazis might have been trying to create zombie soldiers. In a Life magazine article in the 50s regarding the Nazi group Annerbe, which dealt specifically in the occult and paranormal, they stated, "The corpses were to be concealed until some future movement when their reappearance could be timed by resurgent Nazis to fire another German generation to rise and conquer again." Some have literally interpreted this as meaning the Nazis were making zombies. 14. Castle Houska. Built in the 13th century, this castle has long been a site of myth, folklore, and speculation about its construction. It was said to be placed over a portal to hell, and was full of demonic activity. Once under Nazi control, claims of bizarre experiments occurred at the castle. This includes several stories of ghosts, weird experimentation specimens, and the discovery of executed Nazi soldier bodies. 13. Hitler's hunt for Yeti. At one time, Hitler funded a top-secret expedition to Tibet from May 1938 to August 1939. For some time, no one knew what it was for, but a recent theory suggested it was to find the Yeti. Adolf Hitler was convinced the Yeti existed, and that it was the secret missing link to the Aryan race. Of course, the Yeti was never discovered. Yeti. 12. Operation Cone of Power. In 1940, shortly after hundreds of thousands of British soldiers narrowly escaped Dunkirk, a group of witches in England were said to have met in an ancient forest on the midnight of August 1st, 1940. Apparently there, they led a magical assault on the mind of Adolf Hitler, setting up a barrier and stopping him from invading England. At the ceremony, they supposedly raised an object called the Cone of Power to stop him, hence the name. Of course, Hitler never invaded. 11. Hitler's Antarctic base. In 1938, Nazi Germany scientists and explorers set out for the Queen Maud land of Antarctica to survey the area. What were they doing there? Paranormal conspiracy theorists believe they discovered alien technology and built a secret base to do research on advanced weapon technology. No one has been able to find this base, and little evidence supports the conspiracy theory, but what if? 10. The Ghost Cavalry. In 1918, James Wentworth Day went on a mission with Corporal Barr to collect rations, and while they traveled through a wood, they saw ghostly German cavalrymen ride through the trees and toward a group of French soldiers. They waited for the clash of guns and swords, but none of it came. When Day asked a local about the woods the next day, the man said that it was the wood of a dead man where German and French soldiers always meet each other. 9. Die Glauca. It's been long rumored that the Nazis were secretly at work with their own space program. They called their spaceship Die Glauca, or Nazi Bell, named after its bell-like shape. It was said to emit an energy source stretching 660 feet. It was housed at Der Riese, or the Giant, where some believe this secret technology allowed the Nazis to travel to the moon and other parts of the solar system. No one knows what happened to it after World War II, but some believe the Nazis moved it to the Arctic Circle. 8. Hitler's escape. While Soviet records indicate Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun committed suicide in a Berlin bunker, their remains were burned and buried repeatedly, making it hard to identify the bodies. However, a heavily redacted and declassified FBI document claims Adolf Hitler snuck out, got aboard a U-boat, and hid in Argentina. The FBI believes the story credible, but didn't investigate it further. 7. Ghost of his brother. In a memoir by Canadian veteran Will Bird, he recalled being woken up in a trench by the ghost of his brother, who had been killed 2 years prior. His brother said, "Get your gear." And when he followed his brother down the trench, his former location was hit by a shell. His brother then vanished, and he was saved. 6. The Ghosts of Mons. During the Battle of Mons in World War I, British forces were on the French border against Germany. While the British fell back under fire, soldiers claim they saw an entire army of spectral soldiers carrying bows, unleashing their arrows at the Germans. Many others claim they saw angelic beings, and even the Germans later corroborated the account by saying they saw the same thing on their side. 5. Ghosts of Gettysburg. The Great Battle of Gettysburg was the turning point of the American Civil War, and saw many casualties on both sides. As such, the aftermath has created many stories of ghosts and hauntings in the area. For instance, the Daniel Lady Farm was used as a Confederate field hospital where many died from their wounds. It's said the ghosts of General Isaac Ewell and his 10,000 troops still haunt the farm. 4. The Ghost Train. Also in Gettysburg is the haunted and spooky Ghost Train that travels through the hallowed battlefield. Visitors can take a 90-minute tour on the train, and some have claimed to smell cigar smoke and have seen the ghosts of Civil War soldiers on the train and the tracks. Juan, let's go. Very spooky. 3. Camp Kinser. While stationed in Okinawa on the base Camp Kinser, a Marine in room 101 claimed to always see a lady in black that would stare at him. Strange things happened as well, like a glass randomly falling off the counter and shattering on the floor. One night, the Marine couldn't take it anymore and screamed, "Who are you? What do you want?" Naturally, the other Marines were freaked out by it and asked to be relocated. 2. The 5th Norfolk Regiment at Gallipoli. Also known as the Sandringhams, this part-time volunteer militia employed by King Edward VII disappeared without a trace after sustaining heavy losses in battle. No bodies or prisoners were found. Years later, and many veterans claim they saw the supernatural disappearance of the regiment, saying it was like a cloud came and swept them all away. 1. The Red Barons UFO. The famous and feared World War I German pilot known as Manfred von Richthofen, or the Red Baron, claimed to have shot down a UFO in 1917 over Belgian trenches. It was said to have looked like an upside-down saucer with orange lights. Another ace pilot, Peter Weitzrich, claimed to have witnessed the event as well, and added that he saw 2 figures jump out of the crashed craft and run into the trees. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button on the bottom right and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com. While you're there, make sure to join our newsletter for exclusive lists, prizes, and so much more. You really don't want to miss out on this.